you know you're ready to heal, you know you're ready to shed those layers holding you back. Well, in this video, I'm gonna show you the real way to do shadow work, which is a practice for healing. Shadow work is so essential because the path to ascension, the path to getting to that next level in your life is a path of healing. It's a path of shedding the layers that no longer serves us. So what is shadow work? Shadow work is the practice of shedding light on your shadow to basically bring out the aspects of yourself that are repressed due to trauma that you don't love, right? Those are the aspects of yourself that you put and stuff in your subconscious mind. It was actually brought up by Carl Jung, who actually mentioned it and called it a shadow. But it actually has been used for thousands of years, right? Working on the aspects of us that we repress. The reason why it's so important to work on the shadow is because your shadow is literally the things that always holds you back, right? Your insecurities, your fears, the things that you don't like about yourself, overall, the way that you react, right? This is your shadow. And a lot of the time, if you don't heal it, it's going to hold you back from opportunities, right? If you're scared, if you're not willing to, if you're scared to come out of your comfort zone, right, because of a shadow aspect holding you back, if you're scared of things in life, right, because you can't really be scared if you want to get to those next levels, right? You need to face it as much as you can. And the shadow impedes you from facing the things that you have to do and the things that you need to change in order to hop on those next levels of your life. And overall, just becoming a better person. So your shadow, if you also don't work on it, the reason why it's so important to work on it as well is because you see the world. The world is the way it is because people are not doing shadow work. There's hurt children everywhere, if you think about it, right? Like all these people are just wounded children inside that have not healed. Even the worst people that you can think of, right? Like people who are, actively doing very horrible things to others, etc. Those people are also very hurt inside and they don't work on that at all. So they bleed on others. And I'm not saying you're going to become that way if you don't do shadow work, but at the end of the day, if you don't heal the wounds, right, the wounds that people did to you or that has been done to you by life overall in your childhood or overall, then you're going to keep bleeding on others. And that's just not fair, right? You need to also work on yourself and work on your healing to be an example, right? Be an example to people. I always emphasize that shadow work is so important because once you do shadow work, once you start healing, you show people what they can become and it encourages them to do better, right? The people that get triggered by it, that's on them, right? But there's some of them that will look at you, they're going to be like, damn, I can get better too. So how do you do shadow work? Most people have said that doing journal prompts is the best way, right? Writing about these triggers that you have, writing about these experiences and these fears, these insecurities, and seeing where they come from. And well, that's very important, right? Because it sheds some light on your shadow. That's all it does, just shed light on your shadow. And when it comes to shadow work, if you really want to completely heal these wounds and really transform yourself fully, you need to actually heal the shadow instead of just shedding light on it. But how do you even heal the shadow? Now, the shadow does reside in the subconscious mind. It's the repressed aspects of ourselves that actually happened because something in our childhood made us repress these aspects and put them in our subconscious. Now, the subconscious was created in the first 7 years of your life. This means that your shadow is your child. And essentially, when you do shadow work, you're healing the inner child. Now this gets super deep, and in this video we're gonna cover mostly how to do shadow work. But overall, just remember the subconscious mind was created in the first 7 years of your life. Now I usually do memory regression method with my clients in order to heal these aspects that basically bleed on them throughout their adult life. Now in these 7 years, that's when your subconscious mind was programmed. If you went through a very traumatic event where, let's say you were painting on the walls and you were creatively expressing yourself. You were like, yes, this is amazing. And then your mom came and she screamed at you. She's like, no, why are you painting on my walls, blah, blah, blah. You being a little kid and being like basically having your emotional sensory as your main sense, you're going to be terrified. This is your caregiver. This is the person you rely on for survival, screaming at you because you're creatively expressing yourself. What is going to happen? You're going to repress your creativity. And instead of creativity, now you have doubt. Now you have fear of expressing yourself. You don't know. As an adult, you're not going to know why can't I express myself? Why is my creativity so blocked, right? What is going on? It was because your mom screamed at you when you painted the walls when you were 5 years old. It is really insane how the mind actually works, but it gets down to those first 7 years of your life. And of course, those first 7 years start to basically rule your entire life after that, right? You start to repeat these patterns that you created in the first 7 years of your life. So it's really important to dive back to those first 7 years because that's the root. Now, in order to do so, I'm going to speak to you a little bit about my memory regression method so you can understand how to actually work with these first 7 years and actually heal your shadow, right? I use the memory regression method with my clients in order to dive back into their childhood, even to repress memories that they don't remember, to go and reprogram the vibration of this memory so it doesn't have such a vibrational impact on them on the present day. Now, the first step to doing this type of shadow work is going to be feel your emotions, because your emotions are what? Energy in motion. It's vibration. And this vibration, at the end of the day, gets stored up in your subconscious mind. And this is what causes the shadow, right? So let's say, back to this example, if you're drawing the walls when you were a little kid, in that moment, you had a negative disruption in your timeline that was vibrational, right? In that moment, you were processing everything vibrationally with emotion. And when your mom screamed at you, you froze up and you started crying probably. And that was a negative vibrational impact on you, a negative emotion. And that got recorded and it keeps coming out today, right? It keeps coming out in your daily life whenever you are, you're trying to be creative or express yourself in this example, right? You're going to come across the same exact vibration that impedes you from actually expressing yourself, because you're subconsciously, you're still a child and you're scared that your mom's gonna scream at you. So feeling your emotion, right? Feeling this vibration when it comes to you, that is where you can start to work with the vibration, right? Ask it, hey, like tell it, first of all, right? Tell it it's okay to be here. It's okay to feel that way, because this vibration, right? Whenever you have this negative emotion, right, from your shadow, you need to understand that it's your child. This vibration is literally your inner child. So it's really important to validate it. Tell it it's okay to feel this way, because otherwise it's going to feel crazy for the emotions that it's feeling, or if not, it's not going to feel validated enough. So tell it it's okay to feel that way, right? Be there with the emotion from an observer point of view, but of course, treat it like your inner child, right? Give it love and be there with it, right? Ask it, when was the first time I felt you? And the emotion, once you feel it and it feels comfortable with you, right? Because this is an inner child coming to you. You can't just make it feel a certain way. You want to make sure that this inner child feels very comfortable being there with you and telling you what is going on. So then you can get to the root of it. Once you validate it and feel it and let it be there and get it comfortable with you, you're going to ask it, when was the first time I felt you? And this emotion, this vibration holds the memory. Whether you remember or not, the vibration is always going to hold the memory. It's always going to give you some sort of memory, whether it's a cognitive memory or whether it's a memory in terms of sensations and emotions. So let's say it's a cognitive memory, right? You actually start to visualize the memory with your mind's eye. You start to see like what happened. In that case, you really want to turn the memory positive. You want to go to your inner child, hug your inner child, tell it it's okay, right? Validate it once again, make it feel better, explain the situation to them, because most of the time your inner child didn't even understand what was going on, right? For example, right, once again, this child's painted on the walls, right? This example, and this child didn't understand why their mom was screaming at them. They didn't, because all the mom did was scream, right? Don't paint on my walls. Why shouldn't she paint? Shouldn't the child paint on the walls? They don't know. They just know it's bad. They don't know why though, right? So it's important to get them to see like, hey, it's okay to paint. It's okay to creatively express yourself. Just not on the walls, right? Because your mom has paid for this. She's put a lot of effort into it. So don't paint it on the walls, but it's okay to paint. It's still okay to paint. There's no reason why you shouldn't paint. It's okay, right? You're safe. You're safe. Get the child to feel safe, like it's safe. And when it's feeling safe, it no longer holds that much of that negative vibration. Now, this is a thing that you must understand. You need to give your child time. You cannot rush this process. You cannot make the child do certain things. You just need to let it be, right? You can't just rush things because you need to go to work or whatever. When you do this process, you need to be as understanding as possible because you're quite literally working with your inner child. What is gonna happen if you like do the whole process and then you just leave? It's going to get your inner child to not feel heard, to not feel seen, and it's not going to trust you, right? This entity, this energy has a consciousness, has a, their own thinking process, etc. And if you don't work with it, like you should have worked, like your mom should have worked with you in that moment in time, right? Validating you, making you feel okay, like it's okay to feel your emotions, working through it with you. If you don't work with your child like it's a literal child, it's not going to be beneficial to both of you, right? It's going to end up not trusting you. Now, remember, the whole point is to change this memory to a more positive vibration. With each time you change the memory, the wound closes itself more and more and more and more. And so when it comes to this memory, right, sometimes, right, you're going to remember it like it was in your mind's eye, like pieces of it, or sometimes you're going to just remember the sensations of the memory. Let's say you actually bring up the memory, but you're not able to see it. You just start feeling small, you start feeling scared, you start feeling like you're inside the memory, but you can't see. In this case, you would visualize you coming up to your inner child, right? Now that you know how your inner child feels, step out of your body and visualize yourself coming up to your inner child and doing the same thing, validating it, telling it it's okay, hugging it, right? And asking it what's going on, helping them understand the memory, right? So this is the case if you don't actually remember the memory, because you're actually remembering it sensation-wise, vibrationally. You're not remembering it consciously, you're remembering it vibrationally. So we want to step out of that vibration and look at ourselves, look at our inner child as that sensation we just felt and go up to it and do what I just told you to do. Now, some things to point about the memory regression method is that it's not going to be the most comfortable thing ever. It's absolutely not comfortable. It's actually very uncomfortable because your brain represses those things for a reason. And another thing is that it's not going to work perfectly the first time. It might, but it's not supposed to. It's just like meditation. If you are doing meditation, if you're meditating for your first time ever, it's going to be very hard for you to, be in the present moment. You might not even get to the present moment at all on your first meditation because you're not used to that. You're not used to those methods. You're not used to sitting still and focusing and actually, centering yourself. You're not used to that, and that's okay. You train your mind to do these things. So once again, don't be impatient with this method. You want to work with it as much as you can and do it consistently like a workout. But remember, it's like flexing a muscle. It's like strengthening a muscle. You need to do it consistently in order for it to start actually working and to start actually happening, right? Because for most people, they give up the first 2 times of doing this method and then, they don't reap the benefits. But everybody can do it. Remember that. Now, just to recap this method, it's feel your emotion, see your emotion as an inner child, validate the inner child, feel the inner child, let the inner child feel its emotions, and then ask it where it's coming from. Now, when you ask it where it's coming from, you might either see the cognitive memory or you might not. Regardless, if you do, right, you work straight with the inner child. If you don't, then you step out of your body and visualize that sensation you were feeling as the inner child, and then you work with the inner child the same way that you work with both memories, right? Validating the inner child, helping the inner child feel their emotions, just letting them feel it out, not rushing them, and then basically getting them to understand the situation and turning the situation to a positive one, right? Ask them, once you feel like they have fully processed their emotions, like they felt validated, like they now understand a little bit more of the situation, now take them out to eat ice cream, ask them what they want in order to feel better, right? Turn the memory into a positive one. Now, if you want to learn more in depth about how to really reap the benefits of the memory regression method and how to do it, make sure to DM me Guide11 on Instagram. Now, the second thing that you should do for shadow work is work on your awareness. You really want to journal about your experience doing the memory regression method if you do it, because it's going to help you bring out some things that you perhaps didn't see while doing the method. Second thing would be to journal about your triggers and why they're happening, right? This would be the regular shadow work, the basically, the journal prompts, or basically doing the journaling once you have gotten triggered. Let's say you get triggered, you're in a heated argument with your mom or with anybody, and then you step back and you're like, okay, let me take a second, and then you go and you write as you're triggered and you write everything. It really just takes a little bit, just, stepping back from the situation, going towards letting all of those emotions out on paper, so then you can look back on it and see what's going on, right? See where it's coming from and become more aware of those triggers. Journaling is the best way for you to really become more aware of aspects of yourself that you cannot see, that could actually be hurting others or hurting yourself. And it's really important to journal as much as possible. I journal once a day or twice a day, even 3 times a day sometimes. And in those times, I actually write out whatever is coming to me in those moments. I became aware of so many different triggers and also aspects of myself that were really holding me back. So journaling and letting yourself just spill out whatever you have in your mind is super important. Another thing is to become aware of these repressed aspects, asking your family or friends if you're comfortable. And you trust them, of course. It's not like a toxic friend or anything like that. Definitely asking your family or friends can help you out a lot, because most of the time we don't see our shadow. We're the ones that are super close to it, but our friends, the ones that we're closest to, or our family, if you're close to your family, they can see it. They can see when you start to become mean, when you start to become aggressive, when you're angry, or when you're shy, or when you get prideful, right? They can see those things. And so you can speak to them about it. You can even ask them like, hey, can you point it out next time, right? So you can notice it, because a lot of time we don't even notice our shadow. And then journal about it and become more aware, right? Next time it happens, the more it happens and the more you trigger your awareness, the more you're going to start being able to pull yourself back when it happens and to actually change the pattern. After implementing these steps into your life, you will start seeing a radical transformation, because at the end of the day, your shadow was really the thing that is holding you back from your fullest potential. And so when you work on your shadow, you start to shed layers, and your shadow is really just it's just repressed aspects, but behind those repressed aspects are insanely beautiful things about yourself that you had to hide due to survival, right? Let's see this little kid once again painting the wall. After the little kid, as an adult, worked through that trauma, now they're able to gain their creative expression again. And that's not something that they were able to have before because of the shadow, right? Because it was getting covered. These methods have completely transformed my life. I used to be somebody who had a lot of anger issues, like very terrible anger issues. I dealt with a lot of mental illnesses, which I no longer have. And a lot of the healing that I did was able to completely change my life, right? I would have ended up in very terrible spaces, or even dead, right? If I wouldn't have worked on my shadow, doing the things that I just taught you. But journaling was not enough to me. And there was something more that I needed in order to really reprogram my subconscious mind and shed those blockages, shed those layers that no longer served me. And that was the memory regression method, which I ended up actually creating in order to reprogram the mind. Now, of course, after years of actively healing and really never stopping, right? Because healing is a never-ending journey. Just understand that healing is a never-ending journey. After years of doing this, I've completely changed my life. I've been able to reach my goals. I've been able to change my life for the better, like travel the world and all of that, because I was able to shed the layers that held me back from those things that I actually wanted to do. And so I hope this became really helpful to you. I really want to know what your experience is, or if you have any questions down below. Once again, if you want to learn more in depth about the memory regression method, make sure to DM me Guide11 on Instagram. If you like this video and it was helpful for you, please support by liking it and subscribe if you want to reach your highest spiritual potential. I'll see you on the next video.